Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Storytime, and today I am going to be reading God's Paintbrush. This book is written by Sandy Eisenberg Sasso, and it's illustrated by Annette Compton. See that again? Okay, so this week we are going to be focusing on artwork and how that helps to stir our souls, create in our minds, and swirl around in us in different ways. Art doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're using paper and paints or crayons, markers, colored pencils. It could be using Play-Doh to make a sculpture. It could be clay for making a sculpture. We've all had a bunch of snow. So it could be, building snow people, forts, making a snow angel, all kinds of things. Art can be dance, it can be singing, it can be movements, it can be play acting. Art is so playing an instrument. Art takes up so many different forms. Karate, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, martial arts. Those are all different ways of moving our bodies and connecting with our mind. Yoga is a form of art. So anyway, here we go. God's Paintbrush. And as we move throughout this week, you will be seeing different ways that you can use our traditional, when we think about art, you think about a painting, you think about a drawing, we're going to be using that as some of our stuff. And you might see some surprises along the way. All right, so here we go. Here is our story. God's Paintbrush. Sometimes I think the clouds are made of white cotton balls of yarn. God's way of painting pictures in the sky. And then a big wind comes and blows the pictures like a giant eraser. A sunbeam peeked in my window this morning and painted a rainbow on my wall. I think the sunbeam is God's paintbrush dipped in a watercolor sea, painting clouds and coloring our world. What color would you paint the world today? Sometimes I imagine that when it gets very dark at night, the flowers, trees, mountains, and oceans are afraid. I wonder if God made the stars for them to go to bed with and the moon to be their nightlight. When are you afraid? What makes you feel better? Has the sunshine ever woken you up? Or have the stars and the moon ever kept you feeling safe? Sometimes when the clouds look gray and dark, I think they are angry or sad, and the rain, I think, is God's tears. Sometimes the ocean makes giant waves with white foam on top, and I imagine that pleases God, and God laughs. When the fizz on my favorite ice cream soda tickles my nose, it makes me laugh. Maybe it makes God laugh too. What makes you cry and laugh? What do you think about when would make God cry or laugh? Do you have a favorite joke? A favorite funny story? Yesterday, our class played kickball, and while running to first base, I scraped my knee. It hurt. The school nurse put a bandage over the scrape. In a few days, it was all better. Last month, my best friend had to move away. I was sad and I hurt inside. My dad said we can visit in the summer and we can write letters or call each other on the phone when we miss each other a lot. What my dad said made me feel better, but when I think of my best friend far away, I still hurt a little. I wonder if God hurts and what might help God feel better. Maybe I could be God's friend. What do you think makes God hurt? How can you be God's friend? It is hard when friends move away, or if family members move away, or when we fall on or scrape our knees. My class went on a hike the other day and we climbed to the top of the mountain. And I shouted, "Hello!" And I heard a voice call back, "Hello!" It sounded just like my voice, only very far away. The teacher said the sound I heard was an echo. It was fun to hear our own voices. We kept calling out and the sound from the space kept calling back. I wonder what God's voice sounds like. Is it deep and gruff? Is it soft and gentle? Is it loud? Or is it quiet? I think God keeps calling out, and maybe we are the sound that calls back. Maybe we are God's echo. How are you God's echo? What does God call us to do? Have you ever climbed a mountain? I'll share some pictures of some mountains later this week, maybe. I went on a crazy hike a couple of summers ago near someplace in Kentucky called the Natural Bridge State Park. That was a long, hard hike. I had never been so hot in my life. But man, was it worth it getting to the top. My mom and I went shopping in the city. There in the middle of a crowded department store was a little boy. He was alone and crying. My mom held his hand in hers and took him to a clerk who worked at the store. The clerk made an announcement over the loudspeaker saying that a little boy was lost. Before long, his mom came and gave him a big hug. My mom hugged me too. I'm not sure why. One of the things I like about my mom is her hands. When I was just a baby, Mom said her hands rocked the cradle so I wouldn't cry. I wonder if God's hands rock the world. How can your hands help God's hands? I have lots of things that belong to me. They're mine, and I don't like anyone messing with them. Sometimes I think God belongs to me. When I'm surprised or frightened, I say, "My God!" But then I think no one can own God. God does not belong to anyone. We belong to God. Are there times when you feel like you don't belong? Or you feel like, everything is yours? I do. I wonder if God has a big lap to curl up in, just like my mom's, and strong arms, just like Dad's, to lift me up and catch me when I fall. I wonder if God has strong hands to hold me tight, just like Mom's, and big shoulders, just like Dad's, to carry me when I'm tired. What makes you feel safe, warm, and loved? Sometimes I like to play hide and seek with my friends. We count to 10 and then start looking, but today my friends got tired of looking and went away before they found me. I felt very lonely. On Monday, I broke my mom's vase. Oh, I was scared, and I hid behind the sofa in our living room. When Mom came home, I was glad when she found me. I felt lonely all by myself. Sometimes I think God hides, and we don't want to look for God because we are too busy or too afraid. God must feel terribly lonely then, too. Where would you look for God? Have you ever been lost? How were you found? When the wind blows warm, making grass, trees, and flowers dance, it makes my hair brush against my face. I think the wind is God's breath moving through the world, making it come alive. I think that God's breath moves through me too. That makes me feel special. Having a little bit of God inside me, that makes everyone special. Having God's breath inside of them. We can make words and music with God's breath. What kind of words and music does God breath make? It's kind of weird to think of breath being music, isn't it? Better brush your teeth. Walking home this afternoon, I heard the wind whistle, a dog bark, a bird chirp, a baby cry. All these sounds, some soft, some loud, they are God's song. If you sang a song to God, what would you sing? When I go to bed at night, I sleep on cool cotton sheets. I hold a soft teddy bear very close. Mom gives me a big kiss. Her cheeks feel warm and soft. My dad gives me a big hug, and his face feels scratchy but good. All these good feelings, I think, are God's touch. What does God's touch feel like to you? How can you help God touch the world? The world revolves around the sun, the planets spin far out in space, the stars sparkle, and meteors shoot the light through the sky. I think they are God's dance, God's way of keeping the world turning. When I help a friend, when I make someone smile, I think I am a part of God's dance. Can you dance God's dance? What would it look like? We have lots of different ways of sharing who we are and who we think God is, don't we? Sorry if I'm not showing the pictures very well. You'd think after almost a year of sharing videos I would know this. But oh well. We're all in it together. All right, here we go. My tooth fell out last night, and my parents said that it was in order to make room for my new one. I didn't really like losing it, even though I found $1 under my pillow in its place. I wonder if the trees mind losing their leaves in the fall, or if the snow minds when it melts to make room for spring. I think God paints leaves bright colors in the fall and makes the warm sun in the spring because God likes changing. God likes changes. God likes the world to grow. How are you changing? How are you growing? Do you guys have a garden or trees in your yard that maybe are little and they're now bigger? It's fun to watch those things grow, isn't it? Sometimes I think God is just like my dad when he holds the back of my new two-wheel bike just long enough for me to catch my balance. Then he lets go and I ride all by myself. But it's nice to know he's running along beside me. Sometimes I think God is just like my mom when she helps me look both ways in crossing the street and then lets me go all by myself. But it's nice to know she's still watching me at the corner. What makes you feel big enough to do something all by yourself for the very first time or again and again? Have you all learned how to ride a bike or swim or climb a tree? All of those things take a lot of practice. Can be a little scary, but once you learn how, oh my gosh, how much fun is it? My friend is great at math. She always gets 100s on her tests. My brother is the captain of his baseball team, and he always gets home runs. Sometimes when I get a lot of red X's all over my math paper, I would like to be just like my friend. And when I get up to bat and strike out, I think I'd like to be just like my brother. But then I think I enjoy gymnastics. I can do a one-handed cartwheel. I am glad to be me. Perhaps God gave each of us a special gift that makes us different from everyone else, and when we share that gift, God is happy. What is your gift? How do you share your gift? All of us have a special thing that we can do. I bet you if you thought really hard, or maybe not too hard, you'd find out what it is. Today our school went for a hike. The sky looked like a lemon meringue pie. The fields of flowers seemed like layers of red, orange, and purple jelly beans. The vines looked like just like a big jump rope, and the hills like big slippery slides. The branches of the trees made a fantastic jungle gym. I wondered if God likes lemon meringue pie and jelly beans just like me. Sometimes my parents tell me to eat more green vegetables and fewer jelly beans. Maybe they're right, but I still like pink lemonade jelly beans the best. I like watermelon ones. I wonder if God likes to play. Sometimes grown-ups don't want to play because they are too busy or too tired. I think that makes God sad. I think God likes me to play. What is your favorite playground? Or who is in your favorite playground? How do you play in God's playground? We have so many living in Sheboygan and Plymouth and Oostburg and Kiel and every place in between. We have so many parks, don't we? All different kinds. In September, a new boy came to school. During recess, nobody picked on him. Nobody picked on him for the soccer team. At lunch, he ate by himself. I remember most about him were his eyes. They looked sad. My teacher had us do a mural one day. The new boy helped me draw a lion. He's a great artist. Maybe we'll be friends. My teacher watched us working together. What I remember most were that her eyes were happy. I wonder if God has eyes, and if so, they may just be like my teachers. They see people when they are sad or happy. How would If you saw the world through God's eyes, what would you see? I would hope that you see the beauty in our world. Yes, there's lots of other stuff, but there's so much beauty. Sometimes on a bright day, when I close my eyes real tight, I see all kinds of colors, green and purple and red and blue. I think these are just like God's colors. I know God's colors are in me too, and I can paint with God's paintbrush. Whoops. Oh. See? There it is. I hope you enjoyed this story. It's called God's Paintbrush. Have a wonderful week, everybody. We'll see you again soon.